Imagine sentencing the most dangerous criminals on earth and then becoming the target yourself. Judges are supposed to be untouchable. They sit behind the bench in robes of authority, protected by the full weight of the law. But for some gang leaders and crime bosses, judges aren't symbols of justice. They're obstacles to be removed. Today, we're looking at the most shocking cases of gang leaders and criminal kingpins who ordered or attempted the killing of a judge. These are stories where the justice system itself came under fire. We have to start with the most prolific judge killer in criminal history, Pablo Escobar. Pablo Escobar was a Colombian drug lord who rose to infamy as the leader of the Medellin cartel, overseeing a period marked by extreme violence, corruption, and wealth. Eventually, he controlled over 80% of the cocaine shipped to the United States, earning the nickname the King of Cocaine. But what made Escobar truly terrifying wasn't just his money. It was his willingness to wage all-out war against the Colombian state itself. He handled problems with plata o plomo, meaning silver, bribes, or lead, bullets. And for the judges who refused the silver, the lead always followed. In response, Escobar's hitmen murdered dozens of judges, police, and several journalists in the late 1980s. This wasn't a random spree. It was a calculated campaign of narco-terrorism designed to make sure no one in the Colombian justice system dared to cross the Medellin cartel. Escobar's terror campaign claimed the lives of 3 Colombian presidential candidates, an attorney general, scores of judges, and more than 1,000 police officers. Think about that for a moment. Scores of judges, not 1, not 2, dozens of men and women who took an oath to uphold the law, wiped out because one man decided the law didn't apply to him. One of the most targeted moments in this war was the 1985 siege of the Palace of Justice in Bogotá. She stated that Escobar had financed the operation, which was committed by M19. She blamed the army for the killings of more than 100 people, including 11 Supreme Court magistrates. 11 Supreme Court judges gone in a single attack. This was an event so devastating, it essentially decapitated Colombia's highest court. Miriam Rocio Velez, a superior judge, was killed by gunmen shortly before she was to sentence Escobar on the assassination of Galan in September 1992. Even individual judges who dared to preside over cases involving Escobar were hunted down and murdered before they could deliver a verdict. Judge Maria Helena Diaz Perez was murdered months after she charged Medellin cartel capos Pablo Escobar and Gonzalo Rodriguez Gacha with the massacre of 66 peasant farmers in April 1988. She was 38 years old. Magistrate Gustavo Zuluaga Serna was assassinated by sicarios on September 23, 1983, while driving with his pregnant wife, Carmelita Valencia de Zuluaga, in Medellin. Miraculously, she survived. This was the terrifying reality of Escobar's Colombia. Judges didn't just risk their careers, they risked their lives, and the lives of everyone they loved. These tensions escalated in the mid-1980s when the Medellin cartel declared war on the Colombian state. In April 1984, the nation's then Justice Minister Rodrigo Lara Bonilla was shot dead by sicarios, working for Escobar. Eventually, Pablo Escobar's reign of terror caught up with him. Pablo Escobar, the notorious leader of the Medellin cartel, was killed on December 2, 1993, in Medellin, Colombia, by members of Search Bloc, the Colombian Special Forces. But the scars he left on Colombia's judiciary remain to this day. An entire generation of judges lived and died in fear. Now let's go to Texas. 1979. Wood, known as Maximum John for his harsh sentencing of drug traffickers, was assassinated by Charles Harrelson in a contract killing, placed by Texas drug lord Jamiel Chagra, who was awaiting trial before the judge. Wood's killing was the first assassination of a federal judge in the 20th century. In a country where the judiciary was considered sacrosanct, this sent shockwaves through the entire American legal system. Here's what happened. On May 29, 1979, Judge Wood was shot dead in San Antonio from a high-powered rifle as he stood at the door of his automobile. He was struck in the small of the back, and the bullet lodged near the upper part of his chest. Harrelson was convicted of killing Wood, having been hired to do so by drug dealer Jamiel Chagra of El Paso, Texas. Wood, nicknamed Maximum John because of his reputation for handing down long sentences for drug offenses, was originally scheduled to have Chagra appear before him on the day of his murder, but the trial had been delayed. Jamiel Chagra wasn't a gang leader in the traditional sense. He was a drug lord, a high-stakes gambler, and a trafficker with deep connections to organized crime. He knew that if he stood before Judge Wood, he was facing the maximum sentence. So instead of facing justice, he hired a hitman, Charles Harrelson, a contract killer, and, notably, the father of Hollywood actor Woody Harrelson. President Jimmy Carter described his assassination as an assault on our very system of justice, and he wasn't exaggerating. The murder of Maximum John demonstrated that in America, not even federal judges were safe from the long reach of the drug trade. In Cormac McCarthy's 2005 novel No Country for Old Men, the sheriff states, "Here a while back in San Antonio, they shot and killed a federal judge," referencing the murder of Judge Wood by Charles Harrelson. The killer's son, Woody Harrelson, starred in the 2007 film adaptation of the novel. If there is a single case that defines the war between organized crime and the judiciary, Giovanni Falcone was an Italian judge and prosecuting magistrate. From his office in the Palace of Justice in Palermo, Sicily, he spent most of his professional life trying to overthrow the power of the Sicilian mafia. After a long and distinguished career, culminating in the Maxi trial in 1986 to 1987, on 23 May 1992, Falcone was assassinated by the Corleone's mafia in the Capaci bombing. Falcone was the mafia's worst nightmare. Falcone, who was 53 when he died, spent most of his life trying to fight the mafia, bringing about the so-called Maxi trial in 1986 to 1987, which led to the conviction of 342 mafiosi. 342 convictions. That's not poking the bear, that's walking into the bear's den with a flamethrower. But the Cosa Nostra doesn't forgive, and it doesn't forget. The Maxi trial sentences being upheld by the Supreme Court were a blow to the mafia's prestige. The Council of Top Bosses, headed by Raina, reacted by ordering the assassination of Salvatore Lima and Falcone. The assassination was orchestrated by notorious Cosa Nostra godfather Toto Riina, who allegedly toasted the judge's death with champagne. The plan was meticulous and terrifying. 400 kilograms, 881 pounds, of explosives were placed in a culvert under the highway between Palermo International Airport and the city of Palermo, near the town of Capaci. The explosives were detonated by Giovanni Brusca, a ruthless mafia hitman known as the Pig, who was stationed in the hills above Capaci. Falcone, his wife, Francesca Morvillo, also a magistrate, and 3 members of their security entourage were traveling from Palermo Airport to the Falcone's home. A powerful bomb planted by the mafia was detonated in a tunnel under the motorway near Capaci. All 5 occupants lost their lives in the attack. The Sicilian mafia killed Judge Giovanni Falcone with a bomb so powerful it was registered by experts monitoring volcanic tremors from Etna on the other side of the island. Let that sink in. A bomb so massive that seismologists detected it. But the mafia wasn't done. Together with his friend, the fellow judge and prosecuting magistrate Paolo Borsellino, Falcone spent most of his distinguished professional career trying to overthrow the power of the Sicilian mafia. On 19 July 1992, Borsellino was killed by a car bomb on Via D'Amelio in Palermo, along with 5 police officers. The 2 judges' deaths, just 57 days apart, resulted in a major crackdown against the Sicilian mafia and led to the 1993 arrest of Raina, who died in jail in 2017. The mafia thought killing Falcone and Borsellino would break Italy's resolve. Instead, it did the exact opposite. Hitmen used more than 500 kilograms of explosives in the attack, which was ordered by mafia godfather Toto Riina, as revenge for Falcone's attempts to break up their syndicate. But the brutal attack only helped to turn many in Sicily against the mafia and spark change in the region. Matteo Messina Denaro, who died in 2023, 8 months after his arrest, after 30 years on the run, was tried and sentenced to life in jail in absentia in 2002 over his role in the killing of Falcone and Borsellino. Today, Palermo International Airport has been named Falcone Borsellino Airport in honor of the 2 judges. The men the mafia wanted the world to forget have become immortal symbols of courage. Now to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Renowned criminal court judge Patricia Acioli, 47, was gunned down late Thursday outside of her home in Rio de Janeiro. Judge Acioli was known for her tough stance on organized crime and for convicting many cartel and militia members and corrupt police officers. Judge Acioli was fearless. Her hard-line approach to organized crime and tendency to give the maximum sentences to those she convicted led to more than 5 years of death threats. Her name was found on a hit list in the possession of a militia leader upon his arrest, and she wasn't alone in being a target. The Ministry of Justice reports that the names of more than 90 judges have been found on hit lists and are some of the most wanted persons by organized crime members. Rio de Janeiro Police Chief Marta Rocha said that 12 suspects have been identified. According to the lead investigator, most of the bullets used in the shooting were from pistols commonly used by civil and military police. That's right, the very people sworn to protect the law were implicated in her murder. In Brazil, the line between organized crime and corrupt law enforcement had become so blurred that judges like Ascioli were caught in the crossfire from both sides. And for anyone who thinks this is ancient history, think again. This just happened in January 2026. Members of a motorcycle club and a street gang worked together in an attempt to kill an Indiana judge, in hopes of derailing a domestic abuse case against one of their own. Prosecutors alleged Friday, hours after police announced they had arrested 5 people. In connection with the investigation, prosecutors allege that the attack was designed to derail a domestic abuse case against Moss, a member of the Detroit-based Phantom MC motorcycle club, with ties to the Vice Lord street gang. Moss was charged with multiple violent felonies in June 2024 and was out on bond according to court records, which also show that he was scheduled to go on trial in front of Meyer on Jan 20. 2 days after the shooting took place, the plan was chillingly calculated. First, they tried to buy off the witness, according to a probable cause affidavit. The Vice Lords offered the victim in the case $10,000, not to testify against Moss, but she refused. When bribery failed, they turned to violence. With Moss's trial set to begin on Jan 20 in front of Meyer, another Phantom MC member, Blake Smith, purchased a shotgun. A masked man traveled to the Myers home armed with that shotgun on Jan 18. He lured the couple to the door by saying he was looking for his dog, shot them through the door, and fled. Were injured Sunday afternoon in the attack at their Lafayette home. Stephen Meyer suffered an injury to his arm, and Kimberly Meyer an injury to her hip, according to authorities. Miraculously, both the judge and his wife survived, but the investigation revealed just how carefully planned this attack was. Raylan Ferguson, an affiliate of the almighty Vice Lord Nation gang, and the woman he lives with, Zenata Greer, then traveled to Lafayette from Lexington, Kentucky. Several days before the shooting, prosecutors allege Ferguson traveled to the Myers home on Jan 16 and knocked on the door, saying he had a food delivery but left. So this hitman actually did a dry run 2 days before, pretending to deliver food to scope out the judge's house. Then he came back with a shotgun, wearing a mask. Police recovered the mask, the shooter's clothing, and the shotgun, discarded near the Myers home. DNA on the mask matched Ferguson, an associate of the almighty Vice Lord Nation from Lexington, Kentucky, according to the affidavit. Lafayette Police Chief Scott Galloway said, "This attack was more than an assault on 2 citizens. This was an assault on the rule of law itself." Moss, Ferguson, and Smith each face multiple charges, including attempted murder and conspiracy to commit murder. The Indiana shooting is not an isolated incident. It's part of a deeply disturbing trend. Threats against judges have been on the rise in recent years. More than 150 of 214 judges who responded to a 2023 security survey said they had been threatened. Retired Wisconsin State Judge John Romer was shot and killed in 2022 by a man he had sentenced to prison for burglary. A senior law enforcement official said the judge was found allegedly tied up with zip ties. The suspect was found in the basement and was taken to the hospital. A firearm was found at the scene. In 2005, an assailant broke into the Chicago home of Judge Joan Lefkow of the United States District Court for the Northern District of Illinois and murdered the judge's husband and mother there. The suspect committed suicide, leaving a suicide note containing a confession and stating that he had planned to murder the judge. In 2020, a man disguised as a FedEx delivery driver gained entry to the home of Judge Esther Salas and murdered the judge's son, also critically injuring the judge's husband. The suspect was 72-year-old Roy Den Hollander, a self-proclaimed anti-feminist lawyer who had appeared before Salas and was dissatisfied with the disposition of his case. Hollander was discovered dead the next day of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The head of the U.S. Marshals Service said in congressional testimony in 2024 that the number of threats against federal judges had more than doubled over the last 3 years, from the killing fields of Colombia to the highways of Sicily to a quiet home in Indiana. The message from organized crime has always been the same. We are above your laws, but every single time, that message has been answered. Pablo Escobar was hunted down and killed. Toto Reina died in prison. The men who shot Judge Meyer in Indiana were arrested within days. The judge's gavel is small, but the system behind it is enormous. And every time a gang leader or crime boss has tried to kill a judge, the system has hit back harder. And it's something every criminal who ever plotted against a judge should hear. The fight against the mafia is a fight that can be won. If this video sent chills down your spine, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. We'll see you in the next one.